Valve exhausts are cool and all until you lose the remote for the valve and it gets stuck wherever you had it last, which is, in today's case, wide open. I hate this car. I don't actually hate this car, but I hate that it's not tuned, dude. Drives me nuts every time this stupid thing, you gotta move it, you could literally do anything. Give it gas, anything, it just shuts off. Yeah. It's gotta be the biggest pain in the ass of all time.
I don't enjoy moving it, that's for sure.
Thankfully, today is literally the last video we get to make before we take this thing down to Nick and get it all tuned. There's actually a lot more to do today than we thought. Thankfully, I hopped on the phone with Nick yesterday and he kind of reminded me of like the 1 million things I gotta do before I bring this thing down. But we were telling you guys we were gonna do this last week before Driven, but he just ended up getting super busy. We were super busy. We had Brad and Cass here and then it just never happened. Today is the final day working on this dookie. Well, it's a dookie. And before we get super into this, I wanted to remind you guys that October 2nd, we are having a merch drop. We were supposed to go to Driven Halifax in Vancouver, but they canceled everything. So all the merch that we have left from the Toronto show is gonna be on sale October 2nd. We have the new black on black tees. These things are actually probably one of my favorite things we've ever done. And we brought back the maroon hoodies, this time with a nice white stitching. Both these guys obviously got their summer 2021 tags on them. And of course, we got the 4 colorways for the jet tags. We got the black on gray, the red, the black, and the navy blue, as well as the holographic Committed Crew stickers. We got windshield banners. We got all the good stuff going on sale. Whatever we had left in inventory from the show, for the blue shirts, for the white shirts, for the scoop tees, tons of stuff. October 2nd, make sure you guys are following the Committed Crew or go to the website and sign up for the newsletter so we can remind you guys right before the drop so you don't miss it. Like I told you guys though, there is a ton of stuff that we got to do to the EK before we bring it down and let Nick tune it. The number one thing that he said nobody understands, or not nobody understands, but it's like something that isn't common knowledge. He said that like a lot more people than he would like have the issue, and we're gonna go ahead and solve it before we bring it down to him. So something that happens with these cars specifically is the fuel pump wiring's not good. It's not a thick enough gauge wire. It's like some dinky little tiny little wire in there, and what happens is when you're under like 18 pounds of boost, it has a voltage drop because it's trying to pump so much fuel. And then when the voltage drops, the pump actually doesn't send enough fuel to the engine, and then you literally explode because you have no fuel. Basically, the car will just lean itself out and then detonate right there on the dyno. So that is like the most important thing. We're gonna do that in a little bit, but Nick told us exactly how to go about that, and he said that it's something that a lot of people that do K-swaps don't know about or don't do. So if you guys are ever even thinking about doing a K-swap, make sure you remember this video or mark this down or something, because this is important. But like I said, today we are just going ham, trying to make sure that everything is dialed in before we bring this thing down to the dyno. So, let's get into it.
What it is a peak protector. You can get these custom. Normally you just, you know, go on like this.
A little beak protection. All right, so here's today's cluster of things that we gotta do. I'm thinking we start with the blow-off valve, because that one is half done, easy, and the most fun. Up until now, we have not been running a blow-off valve on anything that I have the option not to run a blow-off valve on, because you guys know that I love like the turbo surge. But Nick says that with the amount of boost he's gonna be pushing on this thing, that the turbo will just shear itself off and die. Since we're trying to prevent things dying today, we're gonna put a blow-off valve in the car. So you guys know that we actually don't TIG weld yet. So yesterday we took this to our friend's shop. He got this little flange welded in here for us, which really makes this install super easy. All we gotta do is throw a blow-off valve on, which we already had laying around. I cannot remember where this guy came from. It's definitely not a top quality blow-off valve, but it is a blow-off valve that I had laying around. I had a couple other ones laying around that were like better quality, I would say, but the hole was very small. And since we're gonna be running big boost, I wanted this to be able to breathe and actually function as much as possible. So we're using this guy. If it sucks, we'll swap it out for something else. I feel like that was the quickest blow-off valve install of all time, but that's because we already had it pre-welded. We should get a red one. It'll go with the valve cover, but yeah, we already screwed ourselves. We got the blue boy going. want to crank any of that down, just in case we got to take stuff apart to do the heat shield, but it's in. Can't even really see it. Kind of can see it. It's all right, I think it's in a good spot. We tried to put it as close to the turbo without it being like right up in your business as possible. I think that everybody doesn't like our intercooler piping. Maybe it's not the best, but that's a perfect spot for a blow-off valve. You can't tell me I'm wrong. Have you guys noticed this blue vacuum line magically turn into a different color one day? It's 100% on purpose. I had a black vacuum line out when I was doing whatever the heck else I was doing here like a week ago that I was gonna use for this, and I do not know where it is. So the second I find that black vacuum line, I will be removing the blue one. Anyways, that was super easy. Step 1 for today, done. Step 2 kinda has to go, I guess, in a couple different pieces. So I'm saying first, we toss on this turbo blanket and just hope that it fits. Kind of wish we did that before driven, because that just makes it look 15 times better. Yeah. Somehow, I really don't have a good idea for this yet. This is gonna be like every other video where I just make stuff up as I go, but we need to build a heat shield so we don't cook a hole through that brake fluid reservoir and lose our brakes while we're driving, because that would just be the worst thing that could possibly happen. So we got the sheet of aluminum, we got this like door trim stuff just to clean up the edges, and you guys have seen we got some reflective gold, so we should have everything necessary to make a heat shield. I just wanted that turbo blanket on there to see like how much room we had to work with, but
now we have no room to work with. Still like sleek enough that it won't be a big eyesore or anything.
Yeah, well, it'll touch this blanket.
Yeah, well, that's nothing we can do. Like, there's nothing we can do to not make it touch the blanket.
I don't want to be the guy to tell you that this is, you know, the best heat shield ever made on the face of this earth, but could just be the best heat shield ever made on the face of this earth. Dude, this thing actually came out so much better than I expected it to be. It's aluminum, so it's super easy to bend and make. Like, you guys just saw me literally create this out of nothing. Got it covered up in heat tape. I doubled up basically this whole entire side, and on the front I just put a thin layer just to make it look the same all the way around. This install will actually be super easy now because Chris is working on getting rid of the turbo. This guy should just pop one hole right there onto the brake master, and then the other hole we were using where my fuel pressure regulator used to be, and you guys can see that this covers like that brake line that hangs down there, comes all the way up, covers the reservoir, everything.
Did you tell them what we're doing though?
What?
How we're gonna put this turbo and Jasmine on the K24 or?
Yeah, you wish. While I was doing that, Chris started taking all this stuff apart because the one thing that we forgot to unbox this morning was a bunch of heat wrap. We're just gonna heat wrap the living crap out of the manifold, downpipe, everything, get everything ready to go. We don't want any fire issues. We don't want any overheating issues. We want everything to be super, super dialed in for when we go see Nick. Now, we get to have a heat wrapping party. Not gonna lie, dude, I'm actually really pleased with how this turned out. So there was such a tight tolerance between these two pipes that you couldn't get a single layer of heat wrap in between there. And then same thing here, you couldn't, and just everywhere near the bottom was super tight. So this one, we did all by itself. This one, well, these two we started at the top and then we combined them all the way down. And then this one we did the same thing. It was alone, and then it started to incorporate these two, and then at the end it incorporates all of it, and then it goes around the base, and then it goes around this thing. Somehow we managed to put it all on there and like actually have it look good. and functional. So I didn't think we were gonna be able to do that. I thought that piece was gonna be like raw and then we were gonna heat wrap everything else, but we managed to pull it off. Downpipe, of course, is fully heat wrapped. Well, we ran out just at the bottom there of the spool we were using, but it's good enough. It gets it out of the engine bay. And with this boy, we put 2 clamps on the bottom and 2 clamps on the top. And we didn't heat wrap it all the way to the bottom because last time we were at the dyno, we had a problem where I don't know how it only came off of the downpipe or the wastegate dump tube thing, this elephant snout, but it did.
Originally, when we installed the heat wrap on your old downpipe or whatever, gateway pipe, we just put it through and then pulled on it. And we never actually like bent them up or hammered it or anything. And these things were defective. So like it wasn't actually like biting the metal. So we
That's
thought-
facts too. They actually were, we have 2 packs and they weren't working, and all of a sudden one of these worked, and then we realized that like the first handful were actually defective.
Exactly. So that's why when we got down to Nick's, like I don't know how many popped off, like what, 3?
Yeah, I think so. They all left.
They all popped off, and it was because they were like defective or something and they weren't locked.
So these ones locked, and then we still double them up on both
squished
ends
them.
just to make sure that they're good. So everything that comes kind of directly out from behind the engine all the way till almost basically no longer in the engine bay is protected. The turbo blanket matches perfectly with all the heat wrap, which looks really nice. Let's slap it all back in and hope it looks as good once it's slapped back in. This made the turbo look bigger, or like, I don't know. The camera actually sees it very defined, but in person, all the heat wrap on like the downpipe and then the dump pipe and then the actual manifold all kind of just like morphs together. I mean, really, as far as anything else to get us to the dyno, the only other thing we can't figure out is this fan. Last time we were there, Nick wired in a fan for us and we can't get it to run off the actual sensor to save our lives. We've been all up in Honda, we've been everywhere and we can't get it to work, so we're gonna try and get Nick to do it when we go there. And he's gonna program a boost solenoid in here. We don't have a boost solenoid, but he's gonna be putting one in for us, and then he's gonna be basically programming it into the Honda because we wanna run like, I think he called it like a boost creep, where we run like 10 pounds low end and like 18 top end. We don't want it to just come in full effect and stay there the whole time. To make it drivable, we want it to kind of ease in. So that's like the only thing we're really still missing from this whole setup, and Nick's got to put that in. But that is sick. Me and Chris have fiberglass all up in our hands and our arms. Last thing that we got to do in preparation for this guy to go on the dyno is what I was telling you guys earlier. We got to try to prevent this fuel pump from burning itself out. It's a brand new fuel pump, so the last thing we want to do is blow it up. But what would even be worse than that is if the fuel pump stopped sending enough fuel at the top end and we blew up the engine and everything else. That would be even worse than burning out a fuel pump. All right, so we are doing the extra step. Apparently a lot of guys don't do the extra step, but we are gonna go ahead. We're gonna do the extra step and we're gonna wire down in here. Nick says most people don't, but technically you're supposed to. So basically, we got a relay with some nice thick boy wires on it, and we got our fuel pump, and the other thing that we had laying out here from this morning, this bag right here of inline fuses. So basically, we're gonna run power off the battery to a fuse, from here to the relay, and then from the relay to the fuel pump, and then we're gonna use a little dinky wire that was already powering this fuel pump to trigger the relay, because the relay needs a trigger. This guy is gonna take care of basically everything. Chris is gonna figure out which one does what right now on the relay side. And I'm just gonna try my best to make this work because I've never done this before, so I'm gonna try and do it before I tell you that it works. And boom. This was extremely daunting to rewire the fuel pump. I just have like this fear of doing this wrong and it's in the gas tank. I don't know, I didn't like doing this, but I did it anyway. And it was actually super easy. So don't judge the fact that we're using the same wire. This is stuff that you're never gonna see, so I'm trying to use up this random red and black striped wire that I have. I don't want that. So I'm using it here. You can see I got my ground going from here to here, and then I got my power, runs all the way up, plugs back into the top, and then I basically just used the same, these little fittings, I crimped them on the ends, slid them in there, everything plugged in. Everything here seems like it's pretty much dialed and ready to go. It's got a nice thick gauge wire. Chris is back here just messing with a couple things, trying to get this figured out. Basically, we got our relay right here. The red wire goes to the...
This goes to the fuel pump, this goes to the battery. So battery, relay closes, sends power to the fuel pump. This is ground, and then these two are like, there's a device ground and something else, device, something else. I gotta look at the diagram, right? Right now we gotta get this thing all set up so we can start wiring.
This is the one that used to go there, and we're basically gonna take this black ground wire and we're just gonna ground it to a chassis ground outside, obviously, of this. And then we're gonna take the yellow one, which is the power. So we're gonna set it up so that when this thing used to get power, when you turn the key and it sends power to that wire, it's gonna trip the relay. And then when the relay trips, it'll basically just turn the fuel pump back on from its new power source, which will be directly from the battery. So we're gonna run like a 14 gauge or whatever gauge wire from here straight to the pump through the relay. Then should be good. Just snip it nice and close to the harness or the clip, and then just give me the clip. Everything here is put back together. We ran the new wires for the fuel pump up through this grommet, and then basically Chris just loomed, sort of. It's not officially all done yet because we want to give it a test run, make sure that it works, but this is all loomed up, goes under the back seat. And then back here, what's going on is we have the relay. None of this is like for sure crimped or anything. We want to give this a test to make sure everything works first. There's like two grounds that the diagram, I bought these relays on Amazon, and the diagram has two different descriptions. So we weren't sure which one to follow. So we don't know exactly what the deal is with the ground.
So you turn the keys and we should hear it prime.
Hopefully. Not bad, buddy, it primed. Let me give it the old double prime. So now you can hear fuels all the way up at the
Yeah. Do
the
we want
front?
to give her a test start?
With you holding it?
Yeah.
I will be needing a little bit of a better seating position for that though. Good? Nice! Honestly, it's just nice because like I said, we didn't exactly know what was going on with a couple of those grounds. And I don't know, it's always sketchy when you rewire something, especially inside your fuel tank. So we can go ahead now and basically just take everything that you have lightly just taped together, crimp it all up, and then we're pretty much good to go. Okay, you noble steed, are you ready back there?
Yep.
Boost is still reading. I was a little worried about because we tapped into that T for the blow-off valve, well, right before the T, but it should be fine. There's not really any vacuum lines on K20s, so there's not a whole lot of options. You kind of have to have like one little block where you tee in like your boost and your blow-off valve and all that kind of stuff.
It's like this stuff breaking in.
Yeah. Yeah, the first couple, especially when we get to the dyno, this stuff is just gonna cook and we're gonna smell it so bad. It's good. She's spooling, happy as ever. Oh, I'm so excited to see what this thing does. I think this is where we're at, boys. I think we are pretty much ready to go. See Nick and let this big spoolie boy, look at it go. Look at it go, dude. Let this big spoolie boy do something. Really, just anything would be great. Anything more than like the 75 horsepower we made last time.
Yeah, we gotta hit a minimum, at the absolute minimum, 400.
You got some crazy dad hairs coming up the top of your hat right now.
That's what it is.
Looks like you rubbed your head on a balloon. Yeah, if we don't hit 400, I'm pushing this car into the ocean with Nick in it, because obviously you can't tune if it doesn't hit 400. Anyways, I think that's basically it. We gotta go around and do a full bolt check. We're gonna make sure everything is tight, make sure all the intercooler piping's tight, because we have been in and around this whole car. I'm not gonna actually we have one more thing we might do before we go to the dyno. We might do that.
Oh yeah, we might.
That could be cool.
Yeah, well, actually we should do that. Yeah.
We should do that. It'd be cool. It'll give Nick something to look at too.
Well, and it'll just feel nicer to drive the car.
It'll be nice when the car's done to be able to drive it with that and not like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that before we head down there. I don't know. I'll catch you guys next time. Make sure you guys do the stupid fuel pump thing if you're doing a K20 swap, because Nick says you guys don't know about it, so figure it out. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out and stay committed.